With us now, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell, also NBC News Political Director and Editor of MSNBC.com's First Read, Chucky T.
Chuck.
And Time Magazine's Jay Carney, a man who found out 5 minutes ago he was completely irrelevant to the 2008 electoral process. Right. Well, she didn't call you the enemy. She said you were irrelevant. And I will tell you what, I mean, truthfully, last night, you looked around at that audience, and those people saw the media as much of the enemy as the Democratic Party.
Sure. The problem is those people in the hall are not the electorate. Those people are dedicated Republicans, and that's so annoy the media, as you know, Joe, has been a battle cry for the Republican Party through a number of election cycles. Sometimes it works, but not always. George H.W. Bush used it in 1992 to no effect in his re-election bid. And the story is not the media, but Sarah Palin, anybody who's running for vice president, especially somebody who's never been asked questions about domestic and foreign policy, it's going to have to be subjected to that. And I think if they try to run a strategy where they keep her away from the media, keep her away from real questions, that it'll become a problem. And I think there's a risk.
Andrea and Chuck, last night was one of those. We missed Tim every day. But last night was one of those nights. I loved what Tom Brokaw said, because you have everybody running around in circles, and Tom, with his calm demeanor and his professionalism, the consummate journalist, laid it out how middle America was going to take this, and Tom knows. But we needed Tim's voice last night, too, didn't we? Wouldn't Tim have been excited about this?
He would have been jumping up and down with just the story, the theatrics of it, the political theater, and the fact that here was a novice on the national scene with the lowest of expectations, and people said, sure, she'll be able to perform, but it was an amazing speech in terms of the way it connected to people. I talked to people afterwards on the floor, a lot of women. One woman from California who said it didn't matter that this woman delegate is pro-choice. She said, I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids at home, and I see myself up there. And she's connecting to her. She said, I did not think this was a good choice until I heard that speech.
Wow.
Now, this is admittedly a select audience of very passionate and very conservative Republican delegates. But I think there is a broader audience for this out there. I think it was an extraordinary debut. And Tom Brokaw is correct, and the points that you were making is that, and Jay, that she's going to have to answer questions. Although I recall when I covered Hillary Clinton in the 2000 Senate race, we all said, what does she really know? She was First Lady. How is she going to handle all of this? Everyone knew she was smart, but how is she going to become a credible candidate for Senate? And what they did is they rolled her out through 66 New York State counties and went to the state fairs and talked about the Dairy Compact and did not do maybe one national interview. I mean, the toughest thing she had was
the listening tour.
The Buffalo debate with Tim.
But she wasn't running for national office. I mean,
I still think there is a way that with the new media, there's a way that they can control this and package this. I think that will provide less access to her than you might suspect.
Chuck, it was an extraordinary speech for a political novice, was it not?
Well, it reminded me of 2 or 3 different convention speeches in history. One was Obama's 2004 speech, the enthusiasm that I heard or read in my BlackBerry, heard from the hall, and people that I talked to.
One of those A Star is Born speeches.
A Star is Born speeches. Reagan 64, and it's the Goldwater, in that Goldwater election. So it's now Sarah Palin. She's the future of the party. She threw down the gauntlet. Before she spoke, I was thinking, I was enjoying watching the Huckabee-Romney back and forth, thinking, okay, who's going to get the upper hand for 12 or for 16? And I thought, boy, Huckabee, he gave a better speech.
And then Rudy,
Rudy gave a good speech. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's Never mind. Never mind. It's Sarah Palin's party.
It really is.
Everybody else is just happy to be here. But a couple things about it. One, don't underestimate. Bill Kristol wrote this, and the first thing when I heard it, I agreed, was the idea when she brought up special needs children. Parents with special needs are activist parents. Now, they may be, some of them may be liberal, some of them may be, ideologically the opposite of the Republican ticket. They will connect with her. That's a constituency group that look for them to figure out how to take advantage of. It's almost like cancer survivors. These are groups of folks that will bond together, will bond with her. That's a big deal. The second thing, the speech was smartly light on substance, and I'm not saying that to be mocking of her. They did not make her talk about things that she doesn't know, that we think she doesn't know yet.
Right.
She talked about what she did in Alaska, energy, what her expertise is. The only thing I question, I heard this from some Democratic strategists, was it a little too hot for swing voters? Was her tone a little too harsh? I don't know if it was. I mean, I think we all get caught up in the hall, and so we don't know for sure. But that was her introduction to the American people, and she was biting.
I think that she put such an accessible, friendly face on that sarcasm and the ridicule and the cutting edge against Barack Obama.
But she puts a friendly face, Andrea, on a number of things that may be too extreme for most Americans because she's a woman, because she's a mother, because she's dealing with real-life family crises, because she has a baby with Down syndrome, because her husband is a union guy. She's able to then get on the conservative platform and be this progressive, modern woman with many traditional values that some white guy who got up there just wouldn't be able to push forward.
She seems like a regular person it's not an agenda-based belief set. It's an honest and authentic one, and I think her authenticity is what drew McCain to her. She's got the chops, and she's just comes across as quite real. I think.
In fact, on those traditional values, I talked to one prominent Texan who said that it doesn't work in Texas, that her positions on issues are too conservative for most Texas Republicans. This was before the speech. Afterwards, I think the fact that, exactly as you said, Nika, she has an accessible, friendly, authentic face on those cutting issues. And I think she crosses a lot of boundaries, especially as Chuck mentioned, on special needs children, an activist group, the parents and families of these kids, and energy policy.
Let's just talk really quickly about the media, because we saw something this morning where Nicole turned to Jay and said she doesn't need to answer any of your questions. Americans don't care whether she talks to time.
Poor Jay.
This sounds, though, no, seriously, this sounds like a strategy.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
And I want to say this. I think we can all agree that the McCain campaign does not have a lot of respect for the media. They have sent a lot of misdirections over the past couple weeks. They have contempt. I would say some in that campaign have contempt for the media. I would not be surprised if they kept both of these people away from press conferences.
What's funny about it, though, is that how many divorced couples do you know? They had a real passionate marriage, and they broke up, and they hate each other now, right?
Yeah.
They just hate each other. That's what it feels like with McCain. Like, you sit there and you can't believe this guy is being the one that mocks the media when you're like, all you used to care about is what the New York Times editorial page said.
Exactly.
That's all you cared about. And now you're so angry about it.
He reveled in the media loving him.
Right. It's still weird. Ronald Reagan, and you'd hear this from his advisors, he had contempt for the media, but he didn't hate him. He figured, well, look, they have their agenda, whatever. He let that stuff roll off his back. McCain takes every dig personally. His team takes every dig.
And that there is a backlash that they can reach out to, that they can create a backlash of people who really hate the media, and they're out there, and they're running against the media elites, and it's a calculated strategy. And they told me yesterday there are more people out there listening to talk radio, 40 million people who hate all of you, and we can make this work for us.
But those people are already part of the 45% that McCain's going to get. That's his bottom line. He needs a strategy to get from 45 to 50. And when I had my interview with John McCain, which didn't go so well last week,
we've been there.
I think he's
paying the price for that.
Struggling.
Yeah,
to do this.
He doesn't like it. It's all your fault. You ticked McCain off.
That
was chanting
great.
Time last night. I thought I heard them chanting something else.
I don't. Yeah.
Jake,
I don't think they were chanting time. Were they?
Okay. Thank you so much.